Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Happy New Year. If you're able, please rise and join me in a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. 1.02 is order and approval of the agenda. And just a quick note, we will be striking 1.04 from the agenda. Our Liberty Peak students will not join us tonight, but they will be joining us when we meet in a month in Spring Creek. So with that, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 1.03 is the introduction of our Elko County School District Student Board Member, Mr. Raymond Bowser. Mr. Bowser.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Raymond. I am a student athlete at Elko High School. As far as what I do at Elko, I've played 5 different sports. Currently, I am in wrestling. I've played football for 4 years. This is my second year wrestling. I played baseball for 1 year. I did track for 2, and I did basketball for 2 as well. As far as academics goes, I've taken multiple AP classes and tests as well as honors programs. And participation in the school, I've been in a handful of clubs, including freshman mentoring and Skills USA. And as far as who I am personally, I like to be more of a influencing kind of person. I like to get others' perspectives and try to influence them to become the best person they can be, whether that they be a leader, just improve who they are. And I like to display that not only in school, but in sports. On a more personal level, I like to be outdoors with family and friends. And as far as for my future, I would like to go to UNR to pursue aeronautical engineering and hopefully one day become an astronaut. And that's me. Thank you.
Is that all? Thank you, sir. .04, as I mentioned, is going to be postponed until next month. So 1.05 is the introduction of the Elko County Attendance Review Committee. Ms. Nielsen.
I'd love to introduce the Attendance Review Committee to you. We have Heather Plager, and Heather is the Chief Juvenile Probation Officer serving as our liaison for juvenile justice and community safety. We have Sergeant Brett Carter, our law enforcement rep, who you know from being our district's new SRO supervisor. We have Katie Pongerkin as our teacher rep. Katie comes to us as an English teacher from Elko High School, and she is a leader in the school's multi-tiered systems of support, also known as MTSS, and that program specializes in attendance intervention. And we have Argelia Covarrubias Camberos, our parent representative. She's a dedicated district parent with 4 children in our schools, keeping her very busy. We were so impressed with Argelia's application for this. She definitely brings a compassionate and well-rounded perspective to address the root causes of absenteeism. And we do have Sarah Sanders, who will be the district's, she's the district lead counselor, and she was sorry that she wouldn't be able to make it. She has 2 children in our district, and so she brings both a professional and a personal expertise to our committee, and I look forward to chairing this committee. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you very much as well to the rest of the committee members, and we look forward to hearing what the committee has to bring back to the district board. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
1.06 is input from the public. Seeing no input from the public, we'll move to our consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Then we're going to finish the motion on the table. Any discussion on consent agenda? All right, seeing no consent agenda discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. At the pleasure of the chair, we're going to reverse and go back up to 1.0. Oh, by the way, motion passes. 1.06, we're going to go back up and hear from Miss Catherine Kelly. Please come on down. If you
It is
push
green.
It'll
It is green.
Perfect. There we go.
Okay, I'm not used to adjusting things. I'm very tall. Good evening, members of the board, district employees, families, and community members. Well, I'm back. It's been a few years since most of you have seen me, but I hope I still remember how it works. I know many of the topics that I'll be talking about will be addressed tonight, but I just wanted to take a moment to share my perspective. I'm here wearing several hats. I teach 5th grade in Spring Creek Elementary. I'm a parent to a 5th grader and a 7th grader, a small business owner, and an active member in my community. I live here, work here, raise my kids here, and care deeply about the future of this place. In 5th grade, we learn about the foundations of our nations, from no taxation without representation to we the people. We don't just learn history, we practice it. I teach my students that their voices matter and that they should participate in decisions that affect their community. I also believe in modeling that, which is why I'm here tonight. I understand the seriousness of the financial situation that we're facing. A deficit of this size requires hard conversations, and I don't believe that anyone is avoiding them. At the same time, how these conversations are communicated matters. Schools are more than buildings, they are communities, and uncertainties have real impact on students, staff, and families. School closures, especially in rural areas, should be approached with extreme caution. Our students already spend long enough hours at school, and adding extended bus rides does not support their academic success or well-being. In small communities, schools are often the heart of the area, and that should be carefully considered. I want to acknowledge that this effort has made progress in rebuilding trust in the community. At the same time, there is still lingering hurt from the COVID era, and parents want reassurance and that decisions are being made with transparency with students at the center. I also appreciate the communication that has gone out to the community, including surveys for parents and teachers, which I have completed and shared. It would be helpful to continue receiving updates like the one I walked in on. Simply letting the community know that committees are meeting and discussions are ongoing so people feel informed and included throughout the process. I respectfully do ask for the board to consider releasing or at least making more easily accessible the financial audit that was done recently. This is not about distrust. I teach my students about peer editing and how sometimes a fresh set of eyes can help bring clarity. An audit would also strengthen public trust, affirm the district's integrity, and help guide thoughtful decisions about programs and resources. I know that we have hard changes ahead, but I believe school closures should be a last resort and held off as suggestions early on, specifically citing specific schools. We all want what's best for our kids, and I truly believe that. Thank you guys so much for your time and for listening. Ta-da.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. And I went to go find something because I believe the audit is available on our December 2nd board meeting.
It should be an attachment there on that agenda.
Yeah, as an attachment in public documents. So I wanted to make sure that that was there for your and the rest of the community's reading. So thank you again for that comment. We'll now move into our discussion and action items. 3.01 is review and discussion regarding annual community outreach by board members. This is a non-action item. This item came up through consultation with Dr. Alsbury with Balanced Governance. And I asked for this to be put onto the agenda. The main goal for this is not to assign liaisons, is not to create more boards or committees that have a reporting structure back to this board, which then of course creates open meeting law requirements. It's more to say these are items or these are agencies, organizations, et cetera, that are within our community. And to Ms. Kelly's point, to also give that further accessibility for the board directly. This is not for the board to represent the district. It's to simply be a member of the board to be able to reach out and communicate more with our community. So with that, there are a number of elected boards and civic organizations that are in here, as well as some optional availability for other organizations throughout the community. A lot of it is Elko based only because of the larger, especially civic organizations here, but this doesn't mean that others can't be joined on for or added to this. It doesn't need to be a formal list, doesn't need to be, I choose to be on this one and this one and that one. It's again, just an idea of these are agencies or organizations that are available, and for folks to be able to say, I have an association there already and I'm happy to be, kind of that point person if need be. I feel like I just rambled a whole bunch. Any questions from the board?
Not really a question, but these are some good suggestions. And I was thinking as we travel throughout the district, throughout the year, maybe we could work some cooperative stuff, even if we were to adjust schedules or something of that nature, so we could attend other meetings while we're in town. I know there's opportunities. Part of that give me that suggestion was that West Wendover meets on the same days we do. So there would need to be an adjustment there for us to accommodate that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks, Jeff.
Also, if you, currently president and maybe moving forward, whomever is, if they could let us know, I have no problem if I can schedule some of these. Some of these are noon meetings, the Lions, Rotary. Some of these are these different meeting times. So maybe another board member could go in. So it's not necessarily just the president position or, and I know Mr. Anderson could too as well, but he's got, he's busy as well. So, so if we can go in and talk and do those types of things and let people know what's going on in the district or whatnot, I think that would be great too. I know I'm always the last one to volunteer time, but some of these civic organizations would be good to go in because they probably would answer some of the questions I get when I'm out to dinner. So.
Absolutely. And to clarify, this was not anticipated that this would fall on the president or the clerk. It really was to be able to kind of spread that, spread the wealth, so to speak. I am a member of Lions. I am a member of the Morning Rotary. And so I do visit with them, having been a former member of the Convention Center board. I'm happy to always go back there. But it's also that if you are either a member or if you know a member of any of these boards or organizations, feel free to reach out and just say, hey, if there's a program space available, we're happy to visit where we can, extend the offer to the superintendent, anything along those lines. Really more just to be don't know if you know, but I'm on the board of the trustees for the school district and happy to answer any questions or come to any of the meetings that are there. So that was really all that was about.
Yeah, and I know there are plenty of other entities, but don't want to forget like Owyhee. I'm not sure about their meetings, and GBC as well.
Thank
And I
you.
would like to add to this list, Ruby Mountain Research Center. That's a really good one. I was a member. Haven't been there for a while. And Action.This is not, we don't have an Elko chatter anymore. I was a member too, and but not been around for about a year.
I was not aware of that. Thank you for letting us know. It's a bummer. Anything else? All right. Again, it was just kind of non-action, informal, just informational. So we'll now move to 3.02. This is reorganization of the Board of Trustees. 4A, selection of president. B, selection of clerk. C, selection of representatives to the Debt Management Commission. D, selection of representatives to NASB, including 1, a legislative liaison, 2, a director, and 3, an alternate director. E, appointment to chair the STARS Committee. F, selection of a representative to the AB 519 Committee. And G, new to the board, is a selection of a representative to the Attendance Review Board. This is for possible action, and these appointments I would suggest take place at the end of this meeting, at the conclusion of this meeting, so that there's not a disruption to the flow of business if there are no objections to that. So that I'm going to take them one at a time, and I'm going to jump in first, not to sway the board any particular way, not to influence the board, but simply to say, I choose not to be nominated for president. And as such, I'd like to make a nomination now for Jeff Durham. Jeff has indicated that he is interested in leadership with his recent appointment to the NASB vice president position. I think that gives a little bit additional exposure. And of course, he is a certified public official through the NASB certifications. So I'm going to throw that nomination out there. If he doesn't reject it, I guess.
No, I'd be honored.
Are there additional nominations for President of the Board of Trustees?
I would like to nominate Brooke Ballard. I think she has been really thoughtful and takes a lot of time, understanding what's going on the board. I think Jeff would also be fantastic. I know he's got responsibilities at the state level, as do Susan and I. And so I think it would be great to have Brooke step up and work on, step into a leadership position on the board as well, if she will accept the nomination.
I would accept. I know you said you didn't want to be nominated, but that is who I was going to nominate was Matt. And the reason why is, let me just say it, is now that we're working with Dr. Ellsbury, I feel like you have started that process with him, and I would kind of like to see some continuity there while we're training with him. I think that would be beneficial in that whole process. So I don't know if you would reconsider, but I also think Jeff would do great and was ready to throw his name out there also, but kind of maybe agree with Teresa that the only thing I worry about this year, and I talked to him about that at the NASB conference, is that with him being the vice president now at NASB and living clear in Wendover, just maybe being able to have the time, are you confident you'd have the time to?
Yeah,
everything it
regarding the
needs?
duties as vice president, those are mostly during events. I'm with setup, tear down, things like that, and I'm basically an understudy of the president so that there's a succession there. So I'm in a basis of learning there, but that's not anywhere near a full-time position. I would spend more time here with the board than I would on that.
Gotcha.
So, and as far as the distance, it hasn't been an issue in 4 years, so. I don't intend to make it one going forward.
And I think you'd do a great job. But like I said, I don't know if Matt would reconsider, but I'm going to nominate you even though you said you didn't want to be nominated.
I appreciate that. I'm honored, and respectfully, I'll decline the nomination. Thank you. I'm happy to work with the president. Sorry. Happy to work with the president-elect and continue in their, with their permission and or approval to continue to work with Dr. Ellsbury to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible and that we continue to work down the path that we've started, because I believe it is important. But I appreciate that, Brooke. Thank you. Are there additional nominations? All right. So with that said, we have two nominees, Jeff and Brooke. Jeff, you had a little bit of opportunity to kind of talk on that. Brooke, do you want to say anything?
I'm happy to accept the nomination. I would obviously put 110% into it. That's how I feel like I do everything in life. And I would definitely love to have Matt, some guidance from you if I was put in that position, and I'd do the best job I could.
All right. I don't think we need to do a secret ballot. I think we just vote. So all in favor of Jeff is president as the first nominee, only because I kind of took it in front of Teresa.
Perfect.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so those in favor of Brooke as president, please vote aye.
Aye.
All right. Mr. Durham, looks like you are president-elect. Brooke, thank you. Teresa, thank you for the nomination as well. We appreciate that. Next up then is going to be the selection of clerk. And I will leave those nominations open currently.
Well, that's where I wanted to nominate Brooke. Honestly, we've talked a little bit in the conferences. We both expressed interest in the president. And I think what better place for us to both learn it together is if we're working together on that. So I'd like to nominate you there.
And I would be happy to accept, and I'm glad that Jeff got that position because I am a busy person and I've talked to other people about it before, saying that, you know, eventually someday I would love to serve in that capacity as president, but I didn't really feel like this year was the year. So I'm glad it went to you, Jeff, and I'd be happy to serve with you as clerk.
And I'm going to jump in, not because I have any doubt that Brooke could handle this, but prior to, I know that I jumped in front on president. I didn't want to jump in front on clerk. I'd like to nominate Susan. I think Susan always comes prepared, and I appreciate her comments. Sometimes catches me a little off guard, but I appreciate the diligence that she brings to that. And so I'd like to propose her as well if she'd be willing to accept a nomination.
Yes, thank you.
Further nominations, or do the nominees want to say anything further? All right, all in favor of Brooke, please say aye.
Aye.
And all in favor of Susan, please say aye.
I
Okay,
vote for myself.
You should vote for yourself.
okay. So we're going to need to do a split on this one. So if you'll give us hands for Brooke. And hands for Susan. All right, Susan carries. Thank you very much. And
I'd have
again,
to add, I
Brooke,
couldn't
thank
be
you.
happier either. I think that's great.
We appreciate that. Section C, or Selection C, is representative of the Debt Management Commission, and self-nominations are welcome. Is there anyone that wants to take this on that's not already doing it?
When does this committee meet again?
This is twice a year.
This is the commission that I'm on, and I was going to throw my name in for this again.
Perfect. Yeah, it meets twice a year generally. The first meeting is very simple. The second meeting is a whole lot of data. And Brooke, I appreciate you being in there because I wanted to kind of give folks an opportunity. This is one that I think continuity is a little bit better on. And I'm glad, Brooke, that you are willing to stay on there. I would definitely endorse your nomination. Anyone else? All right, then by acclamation, we are going to have Brooke remain as our representative of the Debt Management Commission. A selection of representatives to NASB, including the legislative liaison, the director, and the alternate director. I would recommend that we have Jeff be one of those.
I would like it to stay the same as what it's been, just for continuity, and you feel like you're just getting the hang of things, and then it changes again. So I think it helps to have people in it longer than a year. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Susan as director.
So currently we have
Officially.
Susan as director, Jeff as alternate, and Teresa as legislative? No.
Jeff legislative
Just,
and I
okay.
alternate.
Yeah,
Got it. Thank you.
and that would align perfectly with kind of how our roles in NASB are anyway. So,
Do those three nominees have any objections?
no.
Further nominees from the board, or nominations from the board? Perfect. Then without any nominations, we'll keep that pretty short and simple as well, and we'll keep that moving forward also. Thank you for your continued service there. Appointment E is appointment to the, to chair the STARS Committee.
And I will like to nominate myself.
Perfect.
I would like to
You
do it
beat me to
again.
it. I was going to nominate you again. You've been awesome, so.
Agreed.
Perfect.
I think that's another one where there's like a system and how it works, and she's probably just got the hang of it now, and so, yeah, a little continuity, that's also a good thing. Now you can have some fun, because now you know how it all works.
If there are no nominations further on that, then again, we'll keep Adriana as our STARS Committee Chair. F is selection of representative to the AB 519 Committee. Dr. Byers, are you good staying on that for us?
Sure.
Great. Are there additional nominees for the AB 519 Committee? All right, then we will keep Dr. Byers there. And finally, selection of representative to the Attendance Review Board. We haven't met yet. I'd really like to stay there if I could. Don't fire me,
I
Matt.
nominate Matt.
Is that why you want to
I'd
be
like to
on it?
nominate
Yeah,
Matt.
I don't know. His performance recently
That's right.
at the meetings.
Haven't even made a single meeting. Sure you want me to stay there? Right, what have I done?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
That works.
In all seriousness, if there is someone else that is interested, that now is a good time to speak. All right, then we're going to go through this really quick because I said by acclamation, but yet the board didn't make that acclamation. So selection of the representative to the Debt Management Commission will be Brooke Ballard. Selection of representatives to NASB will be our legislative liaison as Jeff, our director as Susan, our alternate director as Teresa. Our STARS Committee Chair will be Adriana. Our AB 519 representative will be Josh, and I will be the Attendance Review Board. So with that, I'm going to make that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you very much. That was not as painful as it could have been. So I appreciate you all.
May I just say one thing?
Please.
Can we add the meeting times to these? I'll appreciate a short list, but if we could just, it doesn't have to be a huge synopsis, but like when we have, hey, when have they classically met for Debt Management Commission? When have we classically met for NASB? Maybe like whatever the requirement associated with those on there. On it, that would be fantastic. That way next year when I look at this and go, I don't remember when they meet, it'll be right on there. Just a request, so.
I had a thought too, because of this attendance committee that Matt is on. I really liked when the committee came in, Carlin, and kind of gave us an overview of everything that they did, and they were all there together. So I was just going to throw out the idea that whenever we have reports from committees like that, that the entire committee, if they're able to come and present, everybody take a turn kind of presenting the process and their decision-making and all that kind of stuff to the board as a whole.
Sounds good. I think that could be done, keeping in mind that the committee that reported back to the board through Superintendent Anderson is one that we have a little bit of control over, whereas the others are independent and we just have representatives of. While the Attendance Review Board is required under NRS, and I believe it is required that it does go through the district, it is still somewhat independent on that. But I think that's a good idea, Brooke, to bring that in. And I'll leave that to the president-elect as he continues to make those agendas through the year.
On it.
All right. 3.03 is our nursing update. And this was going to also be the final opportunity for Miss Bobby Shanks to give a report before her retirement. Unfortunately, she's not able to join us this evening. So we'll have Miss Skylar Basanas and Cami Carr give the report for 3.03. And this is a non-action item.
Oh, good, he fixed it up for me. All right, so I am Skylar Basanias, and I have Cami Carr with me here also. I'm not sure, Bobby may have popped in and joined us online. As it was mentioned, this was going to be her last board meeting. I don't have exact numbers, but Bobby has been our school nursing coordinator for Elko County School District for greater than 12 years, and she will be retiring this week. So I will be assuming that role, and so it's nice to be here with you guys. we'll go ahead and go through presentations built for today. The data slides do have dates on those. The data was pulled back on, I believe, February 16th or 17th as those dates on those slides. So prior to us leaving from that, for that Christmas break time there. That, you know, this student is the center of the school nursing framework always, as well as our family and school community. And then pillars of nursing starts to form along with that, which is care coordination for chronic illnesses, quality improvement within our schools, our students, what can we be working on to better self-advocate, better learn those self-skills that we work on with students that have chronic illnesses and sometimes those that just walk along our path. Leadership as well as community and public health, and then the school nurse is a part of that as we adhere to the nursing standards of practice. We'll jump right into data here. This is that data as of the 17th of December. We currently have 48 students in Elko County School District that have type 1 diabetes, 108 with life-threatening allergies, 257 with moderate to severe asthma. We don't include the mild or periodic asthmatic episodes as a part of that. We have 50 students with active seizure disorders, 26 with cardiac conditions, and 123 with other. Those main four what really are focused on nationally with those. We can run through some of those other ones, but it would be such as cerebral palsy, cystic fibrosis, juvenile arthritis, different mental health conditions. And so for these students that are in our schools that have other health conditions going on for them, sometimes learning and being at school can be a barrier. So we're there to help reduce that barrier so they can continue to focus on their education. So we provide direct care for emergent, episodic, and chronic physical and mental health needs. We collaborate with the parents, guardians, students, and the school community, as well as their medical and mental health providers. We work to develop safe and effective plans of care, including education and training to enhance safe learning environments for those students that have life-threatening needs. We facilitate continuity of care between school transitions as they're transitioning different grade levels or entering a new school community, so we want to ensure a smooth transition there. And we also work to connect students and families to resources. Some of our state-mandated screening, which we will have to report up to the state at the end of this school year. We've conducted 4,732 vision screenings with having 844 vision referrals that came of those. If we can't see, we can't read. So that's always an important thing there, working to support students in having access to be able to have, you know, eyes checked, glasses, and providing additional resources for those that need it, that don't have that coverage through insurance. We've completed 3,102 hearing screenings with 16 referrals. We have, over the years, before my time, they have seen that number decrease with newborn hearing screenings being performed in that hospital setting. But it's something that we still continue to work through with school nursing. Interesting, just side kind of note, we do notice, you know, with the headphones and earphones in, we start to see a different type of frequency loss in those older age groups of kids that are listening to their music loud there. So, you know, if you have your iPhone, go ahead and flip on your sound audio thing so you know when you're getting to that level. We've completed 985 growth screenings. We don't do referrals out on those. That is just for data collection for the state. And then we've also completed 116 scoliosis screenings so far this year. We were doing that right before we were heading into Christmas or holiday break, and so we don't have that number available for the number of referrals for that currently.
Could I ask a question before
Absolutely.
you move on? Just out of curiosity, the vision, for example, the number of referrals, then do you keep track of, did someone follow through with that? Like, did they get glasses or what happens with that?
We follow up with that, and we actually have a template letter form that our local eye providers fill out and return. They're really actually, the collaboration with them is really great, and we do get a lot of those back. If we aren't getting a response, we have a second notice referral letter, and sometimes a phone call letter with that process, and then a third notification with that as well. Those can be escalated at times further than that, but we try to work with families to avoid that situation.
Okay, and then I think you said it, but so if they can't afford it or something, you help them find resources, like if they can't afford an exam or eyeglasses or whatever, you help find?
Yep, we do. Currently, we have had a barrier and a bit of a struggle this year. We use a national VSP program with that. They've put themselves on hold to go digital. So we're kind of on hold with that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And Skylar, before we go too much further, a similar question on this screen. I know the mandated screening we have, obviously the vision and the hearing is a big bulk of our students, but the scoliosis or the growth, is that by referral? Is that a random?
So with growth, it is for 4th grade, 7th grade, and 10th grade. They are looking at reducing that, I believe, just down to 7th grade. Don't quote me on that piece, but they were looking at reducing that piece as well. On the scoliosis, that is done in only our 7th grade students.
We have more than 116 7th graders. So that's, again, just because we just don't have all of the data in from the beginning of, or sorry, from the end of the school year?
So
Or
this
calendar year?
is current from where we've been. We really hit heavy as we get going with vision because we want them to be able to see and read. So we get to work through that vision and hearing. So scoliosis tends to be like we started working with Adobe, and they were who we started with at the beginning of December, and then we changed semesters, so we flip-flop because it's really nice to use PE and collaborate with our PE teachers, and they're in that environment. So we'll go back and do those there. And then Spring Creek Middle School is a little bit of a different setup. So, and I say we because Cammie and I kind of go in on that screening team because they're larger schools. It's pretty difficult to get we usually have 3 to 4 of us because we do have 2 RNs during that time that we're providing that scoliosis screening.
Great.
So we still have that, those other schools to complete.
Okay,
For the
appreciate the
remainder of the
clarification.
semester. Sure. Yep. Let's go through here, just some visit data. For illness and injury, we've seen 12,571 students with 184 referred to a higher level of care. Higher level of care for us does not mean that that's the hospital. We are a community care center, so that's if we are referring them out for a specific reason to a provider also. We've administered 5,787 scheduled medications and have provided 4,209 medical procedures, along with having 1,843 follow-up communications in those regards to those specific types of visits. And with that, after communication with those parents, we had had 30 additional referred out. Some positives here is that we have 0 referred out for higher level of care after a medication administration or a medical procedure. So, next we're gonna just pop in. We asked the nurses throughout the district to let us kind of know some of the different projects they're working on at their school sites. School nurses oftentimes come from a variety of different types of background, and as we transition to this specialty, we bring some of those things that along with us, and some of us have other ventures that we work on with our school community, so we'll kind of highlight some of those now. So at Adobe, we have a new nurse there this year, and she has worked to collaborate with the Ever Heroes course that Ms. Marietta teaches, and it's teaching not a program. She was able to go in and assist with teaching a class about the nursing profession as a whole. And during that time, we also provide some support, and we get those students that are in 8th grade taking that Ever Hero class a Stop the Bleed certification. Have any of you guys ever heard of Stop the Bleed? Yes. Okay, good. So it's just life-threatening bleeding and how we can control it. We relate that back to, our rural area, hunting, driving. We're learning how to cook, and so it's always a fun class to do with the kids. Flagview, they continue to collaborate with Level Up for Health with Northeastern Nevada Regional Hospital, Nevada Health Centers, Kinross, as well as other communities and schools and other partners. You'll see a theme throughout this where we've been enhancing our CPR training in regards to the emergency response bill that came out at the end of last year also. Flagview is also getting ready to gear up with Project Maryland to provide additional free feminine hygiene products to schools. Kind of neat, they come with a dispenser, so you'll get to see a picture of one of those here in just a moment. Mountain View continues with a partnership for dental screenings and fluoride varnish with dental sealants and retention checks for 2nd and 3rd graders with Nevada Health Center. as well as highlighted here that, you know, they had that grant from the NFL, and that was exciting to be a part of. Northside has been focusing as well with their Nevada Health Centers and their dental sealant program, as well as taking the time to go out to that sister school of Independence Valley to teach those students hands-only CPR this year. Southside has worked through some education, hygiene education with 3rd and 4th graders, has continued emergency response planning and CPR first aid training. Again, that dental sealant program for our 2nd and 3rd graders. As she's also reached out to a program called Community Dental Connections that provides dental screenings outside of that 2nd and 3rd grade realm. Spring Creek Elementary has the grant money funded for 5 more classrooms for audio enhancement and sound systems. Projected in 2 years, the school will be fully equipped with those in every classroom out there. They are continuing with their 2nd and 3rd grade dental screenings, and then also have Michelle Malky coming in to review airway and dental screenings she's done some parent nights and parent programs. They're finding some, I should have Nurse Layla here to talk on this because she's wonderful at it, but they are finding some very significant studies related to airway and sleep and patterns of children and behaviors. And she's really taken a keen interest in studying that. Spring Creek Middle School was our Project Maryland pilot. They worked with communities and schools to help end period poverty, reducing barriers to student attendance and learning. The picture's really small up there, but that's one of the dispensers, so that anybody can just walk up and hit the dispenser and have a feminine product available to them. Working through that cardiac emergency response out at Spring Creek Middle School and a few of our others, they are working to get what is called recognized by Project Adam. Nevada doesn't currently have a cardiologist that is supporting this program, so she's been reaching out to the pediatric cardiology practice that practices with UNR or not UNR, sorry, over in Reno, and also has a practice office down in the Vegas area, and continuing that staff emergency response team training. In our Wells and Jackpot schools, wanted to highlight here a cardiac emergency response drill that was in collaboration with Elko MedX, Elko County Dispatch, local volunteer fire department, and SROs. The staff and students at the school led the drill. The AED from the elementary school and junior high were brought to the football field where the drill took place in under 2 minutes. We want to have a 3-minute response time to an AED, so that timing of that 2 minutes there was ideal. I know that they were also, I believe, able to have the helicopter land at their school that day for that. Over in West Wendover, continue those same things with emergency preparedness. One thing here that she does that I find is really neat, I remember doing it when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it around too often, is that this will be her 3rd year collaborating with the fire department to teach fire safety to the 3rd graders. And they have that smoke trailer that is housed in Wendover come out and are able to go through that and have some real life experience with it. Not real life, 'cause it's not hot, but that's good. As well as chronic illness education and training. She's also a member of her staff wellness committee. At our West Wendover Middle and High School, we've completed our screenings. We're working through chronic illness and education training, as well as hygiene maturation. Those concussion protocols that are coming in, I think Nurse Marie over there spends quite a bit between those two having the middle school and the junior high, those 2 different campuses with that there. And then she's also serves as a member of the Safety and Crisis Committee within her school community. That's all we had. Wanted to give you guys an update. I know Bobby is not here with us, but I just would also like to thank Bobby Shanks and all the guidance that she's given us throughout the years. Transitioning into school nursing without her would have been a feat. So she pretty well laid some awesome groundwork for us. Well, she's always had a passion for this since she was in nursing school. And we are lucky to have a leader that has been with the Elko County School District for that long that we can continue to follow in her programming. Any questions?
I did, unless someone else wants to go. Just a couple things. Most of them are about cost associated with it. So are most of these extra projects such as the feminine hygiene products, the dental screenings and fluoride, are these all covered? Are we paying into this? Or are these covered under grants? Or how is this, or are they just donating a lot of this?
So Project Maryland is a grant funded through that project, and they provide the supplies for that programming. There is a Nevada state law that requires schools provide feminine hygiene products. So I'm not sure where in the budget that comes from, but we have to provide it free to students.
Okay. And so we have that, and that's why I'm asking with each program. So, and then all the dental.
That's in partnership with Nevada Department of Public and Behavioral Health. So it is a public health dental hygienist, and that's through grant funding through the state, not cost associated from us.
Okay. And then, and I don't know, in our accounts payable, there was a huge payment for albuterol for like 14K. Is now an appropriate time to ask, what are we doing with 14K worth of asthma medication? Do we apply it ourselves or?
So there shouldn't have been 14K for asthma. That may have been epinephrine. It could be there, from my understanding, our asthma albuterol, it was at a lower cost, but we do have stock albuterol on campus. Asthma is the leading cause of child hospitalizations.
So we have our own medication that we handle on, like, we don't handle the students' medication, we have our own medication.
We have the students' medication, but they're young students and sometimes they forget. And so we do have one inhaler on each campus that is a stock albuterol that we have signed standing orders for, that's available to use in an emergent situation if a student that has an already known asthma action plan has a respiratory issue going on. And we have disposable spacers that we're able to use for that. Now, if it's somebody that doesn't have a known asthma diagnosis and does not have an asthma plan from their provider, we are not able to use that albuterol for them.
Yeah, so I misquoted a couple things. One, it's albuterol, and then epi injector, and it's 18K. And so that's just a huge amount of money to spend towards medication. Are we like replenishing the whole district, or?
So epinephrine, unfortunately, has a very short expiration date, and we can't store medication on our campuses that are expired. We do work to use a program called EpiPens for Schools, where we are able to get those for free, which is normally where we are able to get those from. They have been backlogged and have not been able to fulfill those. And so we were getting to the point where our medication was going to expire, and per NRS, we have to have auto-injectable epinephrine available in the schools. So we did have to make a decision to.
I guess as we go forward, I'm just wondering, and I asked this last time when we went through the nursing side of the program, was how big does this program get, and are we be able to fund it, and what is truly?
So the data, sorry, I did not mean to cut you off.
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
okay. Go
The
ahead.
data shows that $1 spent on every school nurse saves $2.12.
I don't know what that means. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're trying to say. I don't know what that means overall. I'm just trying to understand, if we look at what stats you've said here, it's like 6 to 8% of our population that you're seeing. And I'm just trying to understand how much money we're putting towards 6 to 8% of the actual population of the district. So when I said 2 years ago, and this isn't you, this is for everyone, when I said 2 years ago, everything is on the table to try and figure out our financials, nursing is a part of that. So we're just trying to figure out I'm trying to understand what portion of it. So it has nothing to do, it's nothing personal, it has nothing to do other than I see that we have this, I see that we have these programs, who's paying for them, where are they coming from? So I think it's great. It's fantastic at the end of all of what I'm saying. It's great that we're teaching kids and how to do this. And they can be partners in here, take control of their health, as long as that's what our message is. But I also have some reservation about how big of a pharmacy does a school and school district need in order to maintain the school population? At what point are we just taking over their care as opposed to augmenting or bridging the gap while they're at school? So, which is up for debate elsewhere. So.
Absolutely. And we have reduced from 23 down to, after Bobby is done this week, down to 18. With those there as well, we do only carry albuterol, epinephrine, as per NRS, and then Narcan.
Which we've gotten for free.
For free from UNR program is where we get our Narcan from. So we do work to try to mitigate those costs. Thank you.
To kind of piggyback on that, I'd be real curious to know if we could maybe collaborate and figure out what unfunded mandates there are in there from the state. If the state says we have to have that, but they're not providing us a path to fund it other than our own general fund, that's something that I'd like to take to NASB and maybe work up, because that's something we've talked about a lot, is unfunded mandates, where the state is saying you have to do this, but then these costs come up, and with our budget, I'd like to try and find ways to, so if we could get that information, perhaps, I'd love to look at that and take that up the river.
Additional comments or questions? Ladies?
Also, a big thank you for everything you guys are doing, for the information.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. I should say that too. Listen, I'm not trying to do anything. For reals, I'm asking questions. Yeah, and I should have, and I apologize. I apologize to the board for stepping in, but for reals, you guys are doing a great job. I'm not saying that. If it was any other financial situation that we had here, we just got to work with what we have. And if the state somehow magically comes in with a bunch of money and we are okay and we don't have to have these conversations, great job for what you have. Okay, so thank you so much.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for the information and the update. I appreciate knowing, what is going on at all the different campuses. We definitely have some students with some incredibly challenging needs, and, keeping them in school is really hard without having professionals that are there to help. So thank you for that. And I know Bobby's not here, but thank you to Bobby for all of her work over the years as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I want to echo that as well. Appreciate your time, appreciate Ms. Shank's time. And, for a number of points that were kind of made here for the audience, this is, schools are no longer just an educational entity. Clearly, we have, health concerns that need to be addressed and that we are mandated to address. So I want to make sure that folks understand that when they hear that, oh, you just, had however much spent. Well, yeah, it's because we're required to. So please keep that in mind. And then I also just want to end on kind of a more upbeat side of things, I guess. I really appreciate the diversity of interests that you've gone through with the medical professionals at the schools, where they're reaching out to different people to try to fill the needs, and they're taking their interests and they're looking into that. And I hope that that's being shared across the district, but I applaud them for going above and beyond just yep, here's an aspirin or here's an ice pack or whatever it is, and go from there. So thank you, ladies, and thank you to the rest of the nurses as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry, I just have to add one more slight thing. When we did get albuterol, or not albuterol, epinephrine, the expiration date was going to be 6 months out. So we were able to work together and refuse that, and did get a replenished supply with a much greater expiration date of over a year out. So over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So we knew that,
Yeah.
receiving that was not acceptable. So
Definitely.
thank you.
Thank you. 3.04 is receipt, review, and possible approval of the 2026, 2027, and 2027-2028 school calendars. This is for possible action. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, thanks. So last year around this time, we had a pretty involved process with some back and forth with the calendars, which represented pretty decent change to our normal school calendar. And this time around, as was done in the past, the unions presented a few different options to their membership, and some of those representing additional changes. But the two drafts that you see for the next two school years do represent the majority vote of their unions, and the proposed calendars that we're asking you to accept for the next 2 years do pretty much mirror what we settled on last year for the year we're currently in. And so this would be more or less a continuation of what we're currently doing right now, as opposed to implementing further significant changes moving forward. So
I just have one question. I'll start out and I get it over and then somebody else can ask a nicer question. But I don't understand, and it's been brought up through the whole thing, the craziness of Monday after a 2-week off having a PD. I just don't understand that. Is that something we have in our, is that a contract obligation? Or I don't, you've got 2 weeks where we're off and then we're gonna go back, we're not gonna go back to that Tuesday, and I just don't understand that.
Yeah, so there's different fields of thought of where these professional development days should go within the allowabilities of legislation. There are a certain number of professional development days that are set aside for district employees throughout the year, and so we only encumber 1 week of those at the beginning of the year, and then there's opportunity to have another one and at another point throughout the year. And in our estimation, a good place for that, even though I hear what you're saying, like it's not about having a day.
I got yelled at so many times this time. I'm not even, like,
yeah.
like, I'll make light of it a little bit, but I got yelled at so many times this year.
What I'll say about this is, it's not about having, and I'm sure this is how it's probably phrased to you or people think of it, it's not about another day of vacation. Like,
No,
that's not what that day is. To align with, because that day didn't used to be there. Last calendar year, it was right after, it was right around, no, it was at the end of the first semester, which occurred the Friday, Thursday, or whatever the last day was preceding Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so it came randomly, 2 weeks after the Christmas break. But what it's meant to do is align with the conclusion of a semester. And in this case, when we changed the calendar last year for this current school year, our semester now ends at Christmas break. This ushers in the beginning of a new semester, preparations that go along with that, et cetera. And so that professional development day is meant to align with the conclusion of one semester and the beginning of the other semester.
I hear what you're saying. I don't have
That's
to
the
like it.
craziness.
I'd have to throw out there too, just an analogy, but when I close my place for a couple days, I bring the chefs in early so that they can prep and have everything ready to go. So where everybody's been out of the building for a couple weeks, it seems like a good idea to me, and that's how I'd explain it.
No, that's the thing, right? This is a community, calendar technically, like, you know what I mean? Like, anecdotally speaking, there's a lot of people who are affected by it. And so, and some of them are very vocal, and like I told them, it's already set, and I'm not technically like in charge of it.
Yeah, sure.
One of
You're a
seven.
voting member of
Yeah,
a body
one of
who
seven,
oversees
so.
that.
But anyways, and on their side of it is, hey, we've been gone for 2 weeks. Why are we gone for another day? So anyways, I just want to make sure that was on the record and people could see that and they could hopefully understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'll say for what it's worth too, again, I do have experience elsewhere outside of Elko County, and from where I've been before and what I've seen other places, doing a professional development day right at the end of, like, in between semesters like this is a fairly common practice in other places. So this isn't like a crazy thing that we drummed up and just.
That's what I told them.
Magically.
That's what I told them. I was like, they just magically put this out there.
It's a strategic
So,
alignment, but I get how it does seem.
But I will
another
steal
day
yours,
when
Joe.
it's-
That's fantastic. Yeah, well, bring it. Well, we did the same thing in our office, but anyways, so, sorry. I just want to put that out. Thanks. All right, I'm done.
Yell it back.
Josh, there are places in Utah that they have them after, like every 9 weeks, they have a day off, so that students do, so teachers can do grades, et cetera. And just for the public's knowledge too, that day the teachers just had to set up Google Classroom so they don't have to do it at home. You know what I mean? That gives them a chance, because that's not just click and it goes in. There's things to do with putting classes in so that the public knows that too.
No, it's good to hear all the different angles,
Yeah.
so, because one, I don't want to talk about all the angles.
Yeah.
Because
There's
it's a
just
long
more to
conversation,
putting
but-
together your next semester than just click a button and everything's just
Absolutely.
there for teachers to do, so.
Maybe one day, but not now.
Yeah, soon probably. You can just tell AI to do it.
I have a question for our student board member.
You stole it.
Oh, I was gonna say, what do you feel like is the student perspective on the current calendar that we're running this year and having semester finals before Christmas break and the start of a new semester after the break's over and all that kind of stuff? Have you heard anything?
So for me personally, I think it works out really well, mostly as an athlete, because a lot of the times my freshman, sophomore, junior year, we would have to like travel on Fridays. And so a lot of times we would miss that Friday. So having that Friday off is a lot nicer because you don't miss school. But as a student, I come to find that while it's nicer to have a day off, especially for those who, I mean, all students prefer to be at home, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of times some students get overwhelmed with work. And I think sometimes teachers, especially when we first started going the Fridays off, kind of had an overwhelming amount of homework or like extra work to do, or teachers wouldn't get exactly where they needed to be. I find that a very common thing is that teachers, they succeed in getting what the students need, but it's kind of at a different pace than it usually is, or some teachers just skip certain sections that aren't exactly necessities. While I think the change that we've had is really good, and I think definitely finishing the semester before winter break is a good thing, because I feel a lot of students will leave for 2 weeks, come back and be drained from school, as like they're excited to be home, and then they come back and they don't want to finish the semester off. So I think everybody taking the test before the semester ends, like before the break, is a good idea, and I think it worked out this well, especially for me. And I think it also aligns well for students who, like I took college classes this year that aligned perfectly with the college classes. So I think that worked out well as well. Overall, the only problems that I've seen are, like I said, the teachers having a hard time getting all their work that they need in. I think most teachers have gotten used to it, but I think sometimes it's also a problem with progression and then students becoming a little overwhelmed, or on Thursdays, they get the same feeling they had on Fridays. Oh, you know, it's Friday, I'll just do the work when I get home. Now it's Thursday and they feel like they have 3 days to do it, so then they choose to do it Sunday, and then they kind of get a little uptracked in their work sometimes, or they get a little more lazy, you know what I mean? But I think overall it worked out well, but I think as far as schoolwork goes, that's probably what was most effective from what I've seen.
My next question you said that this was the majority of the vote, they voted for this. Was it like an overwhelming majority, or do you have any
Brooke,
idea?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I'll be honest, I was expecting someone else to be in this meeting today to possibly have an answer to that, but I think they're in another meeting still. I do not know. In fact, the text I sent to that person was, do you know if this was an overwhelming vote versus not? I don't know the answer to that. I know that one of the other calendars did represent starting even another week earlier, which, anyway, I'm not going to opine on that a whole lot, but that was one of them. And there was another that was very similar to this one, but it had, there was like some weird shifting of holidays that people didn't particularly feel keen towards. So I think it meant to try to have a longer Thanksgiving break, but then that meant inconveniencing several other parts of the calendar. So people just decided they were enjoying the way this year was going, and I think they're sticking with. So, but I mean, that was a lot of talking to say no, I don't know.
Okay, then I guess another question I have is, I felt like things were very rushed before Christmas to get everything done and to get the semester finals in. And so did my boys. I'm just curious. So I know the teachers have voted on it. I don't know how long ago they voted on these calendars. I'm just curious if this calendar, we're not even through a full year of it yet, and if we should be voting on 2 more years of a similar calendar when we're not even sure if it's what's most beneficial for students. Like, did it help with semester testing? Or
So I
is
think
it better
that-
for them to have 2 weeks, maybe for those kids that need to study and take some time during Christmas break to study and prepare for those tests? I don't know, that's what I'm just curious about, is what the outcome has been for semester testing and finals and things like that for our students.
Yeah, so the voting took place just before we were out for break. I don't remember which days, but it was in the couple of weeks preceding the break. Kind of one of the last things we were looking at before we left. So it happened kind of during that timeframe. And I
I
think,
can tell you that the president of ACTA asked me to put this on the agenda on December 17th.
so it was the day before we left for break. And thank you, Hillary. And then I think so historically, we have done 2 years at a time with a calendar. At least when I started being the superintendent, that was the way it had been done, and Teresa's nodding next to me. And so we got a little away from that with the implementation of the 4-day, and we'll see how that goes. And then with this change and going 1 week earlier, the idea was let's we'll do one of these and see how it goes. And so we encouraged them, if they were willing, to go for 2 years of this, and they were happy to do that, and it seemed like that was still the vote. I almost said overwhelming, but I don't know if it was overwhelming or not. So that's it. You're right. We have not concluded that year yet, but I guess the only other way to do it would be to do 1 more year. If that's the case, why didn't we just do 2 last year? And then, I don't know. We did it the way we did it, right? And that was to do 1 year and then to vote on 2 this time around. So
I've talked to quite a few students that said they loved having finals done before Christmas break. That they were just like, this is better than anything we've done in the past, because then you can just enjoy your break and come back fresh and ready for the new semester. And I realize that's, change is hard for people just in general. And some people might feel like, oh, this was too much or whatever. But almost every student I've talked to that about the calendar was like, this was way better to have this done. And obviously this is mostly high school students I'm referencing, because you don't have finals for elementary kids. But the elementary kids, that I've talked to, very few, were just like, whatever, it doesn't make a big difference to them.
Just want to piggyback on that. Everybody that I had to, all the high school kids I know, while they were going through the week of tests, they were, stressing, got to do this, but coming back refreshed, ready to go. So that's just, again, that's all anecdotal, and we're having the same conversation we did before. I will say this, I have 0, count them up, 0 nasty emails in my email. So, whereas last time I did not, I had quite a few opinions. So I would say that it doesn't seem to be as big a problem as what this time around. So, but I do understand there's always going to be students that learn different, just like anything else we do. So,
I'll say, Brooke, we both have a couple of correliers, you and I, and that is the busiest time of year for any correlier. And so to add finals on top of that, I also heard from 2 of my children, my 2 high school age children, about it. So that was an exceptionally busy time of year for them, and so I'm sure you were feeling that a little bit.
Yeah, I was. And I've heard good and bad things either way, but I guess my only concern is just not having gone through the full calendar year to see, we're only halfway through it, to see if it's actually something everybody loves, and voting for 2 more years on it. So just a thought of just voting for 1 more year. But I also do recognize teachers have lives, and they want to make summer plans, and they want to book vacations, and not only teachers, families do too. So I do understand the benefit of having 2 years in advance so that you can do those things.
I'm in favor of it for that reason. Both of these schedules check all the boxes that I was looking for last year, which was Fridays off, no makeup Fridays for a holiday Monday. We get finals before Christmas, and we get everybody out in time, and we avoid the mining convention. And these 2 follow that same format, so I'm good with them.
CJ, if the unions decide to come back and make a change for the 27, 28 calendar, there's nothing saying we can't re-vote on this at another later date, correct? Obviously, we don't want to throw everything into chaos, but it's not like we're in concrete.
Yeah, no, I think we always have an ability to take board action there's a date every spring that you have to have something to the state, but if something goes on and we need to change calendars or something, we do have that option. I think the idea of this is much like negotiations. It's like by the time you finish doing it once, you're starting it again the next time around. And so if you can get a couple years in at a time, we're not constantly just doing this mill of calendars or of negotiations or of other things that if you're able to do a couple at a time. But yeah, I think even if we approve 2 years now, come next year, as long as we submit a different calendar and it's board approved before that deadline, then I'm sure we could get a change.
Do you know that deadline offhand?
Uh,
You can just guess.
I was
Is it
gonna say
March?
March something, but Cody's mouthing April. Okay, so
Gotcha.
it's gotta be submitted by April, and we usually take care of it by March.
Thank
So,
you.
Matt, are you talking about just approving one calendar and not the other one?
No, I would not make that recommendation. I think approving 2 is fine, but if for some reason, to Brooke's point, 9 weeks from now, the teachers realize, wait, there's an issue with this, and they want to change it, then we can change that for the 27-28 calendar if need be.
If they come to us and want to change it.
That's the way it has gone, and I don't know, I think calendars are in negotiating documents, aren't they?
It talks about the process and the negotiation.
Yeah, okay. Any further comments, questions, or concerns?
Mr. Chair, recognizing that there can still be debate and discussion after a motion, I move that we approve the 26-27 and 27-28 school calendars as presented.
Second.
Terrific. Motion and a couple of seconds on the table. Any further discussion and/or deliberation? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you very much to our collective bargaining units for putting these together. And to Josh's point, for the community not storming the gates.
Yeah.
3.05 and 3.06, at the pleasure of the chair, I'm going to try to combine these as both are intents to bargain, and I don't know that we have any reason not to separate these. So I'm going to entertain a motion to select both, and if it fails, then we can select them individually.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept both the letters from ECTA and the letter from EXO for the letter of intention to bargain for 26-27.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 3.07, receipt, review, and discussion of proposed revisions to policy JDEA, student discipline, habitual disciplinary problem, student habitual disciplinary problem definition. This is a non-action item. This is a first read of the proposed changes. The last time this was before the board was almost 30 years ago, 29 years ago. And this brings it into alignment with statute. Mr. Anderson, anything to add to that?
No.
Great. Discussion from the board.
I just had a question on item E, under the first section. I guess there's only one item E. It just references, I'll just read it so that maybe I'm just reading this wrong. So it starts out with the first paragraph that says, a principal of a school shall deem a student who is at least 11 years of age and enrolled in the school a habitual disciplinary problem if the school has written evidence which documents that in one school year, and then we're going to skip down to E, and it says the school has been notified that the student is homeless or in foster care. To me, that sounds like if a student is homeless or in foster care, they are automatically being deemed a habitual disciplinary problem. Am I reading that incorrectly? Because there are 2 items above that specifically cite homeless students and foster care students, and I'm not sure why E is there. So am I reading that wrong?
So everything in between the first thing you read and E, there's lots of ors and ands that go into describing a potential scenario of a student. So really the important under A, 1 and 2, it talks about, either one of those options. And then so you have to think about after you've answered 1 or 2, then the ands come after that. So under A, did they do one of these things or did they do one of these things? And you're okay to make that designation if one of those things exist and you've made the reasonable efforts and these other things. So it goes through that entire thing. So I hear what you're saying. E does follow after all the other things though. And really I'll say the intention of that, not only with E with homeless or foster care, but that obviously follows right after D, which would have been after you've determined that the placement in foster care was not a factor in their behavior. So that comes at the very end of everything and basically just like you've been notified that this is a situation for that student. So it's making sure that that is relevant to the conversation before deeming such a student habitual disciplinary problem.
So if they haven't threatened or extorted or attempted to threaten or extort, or they haven't already missed had 5 significant suspensions, them being
And nothing thereafter is
qualifies.
relevant. Okay. Because those are the only things that could have a child, a student qualify as habitual disciplinary.
And I believe this is verbatim NRS.
E isn't.
E is
At least
not.
I don't see
Okay,
it
it's
on.
not at all?
I feel like E is already covered under C or D, but maybe I
Yeah.
am incorrect in.
I see what you're seeing there. The A, B, C, D doesn't match up with the 1 and 2.
Yeah, when you look at the statute, I don't see E in it, but I could be missing it. It goes to D.
So that's let's just look
Sure,
at that.
I'll
That's my
relook at
recommendation.
that
to look at
NRS
that.
and see where we may have goofed up an order or something.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's why we discussed
Additional
it.
discussion?
On the second page of A,
Yep.
it says a threat may be express or implied. I think it should be expressed, but maybe,
Sorry, can you say where again? Oh, I see.
yeah. Second
It's the
page.
second A. We actually
A.
we need to redo the formatting of that anyway. You have multiple A's and B's and C's, so I would like to redo that anyway. And so maybe expressed, we need the suffix.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you have implied, so it seems like there should be an ED under the other verb.
You're right.
And for me, it brought up questions, looking at the statute. For the proposed changes, there's a lot of the statute it doesn't cover. So then I was looking at the other policies, and some of the statute is covered in other policies. But then looking at those, a lot of them I thought needed to be updated.
The other policies that go along with this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're not all, like I get not having all of this in one policy, but
Right.
it just led me to
Sure.
more policies. I went, oh, like, number 2 of the statute is actually in a different policy. So I think a lot of those are covered, but it just got me looking at some of the other ones that I think need some review. But I'll get to that later, so.
Yeah, I was
I
just going to
digress.
say,
Sorry.
Susan, you're always a rock star at identifying policies that that don't match up. And so if you have those identifiers or whatever, there you go. Yep, send them my way. And
I do.
we will, it's a great opportunity maybe to consolidate some of them instead of
Yes,
have 15 when
absolutely.
you only need 3 or 4 or something like
Yeah,
that.
some of those
so.
policies say one line. I'm like, that could be with some other things.
Sure.
It makes it hard to look it up when there's like that one, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to that. It seems confusing to me if I was going to go try to find things. I kind of want some things lumped together.
Susan, I didn't look up the statute. I just was looking at this policy. Do any of those have anything to do with special education students or students with disabilities? Because
Yes.
that's, okay, I
Some
was
of
gonna
them
say,
do.
as I was reading through here, I was thinking, there's lots of times children with disabilities or that are in special education that have behavioral issues associated with their disability. And can they be considered, what's the term here? A
Habitual disciplinary problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And so should that be included at all in this?
Yeah, so something I just want to clarify too is if you look in the title of this policy, it is specifically about the definition of a habitual disciplinary problem. It's not everything that happens along with a student that is deemed a habitual disciplinary problem. So this is simply to clarify the definition. In NRS, if you go to the next NRS, it is 0.466. Within there, it does point specifically to if it is a student with disabilities, and it goes into the manifestation of disability, it goes into ages and grade levels and all those things that are relevant to a student with an IEP or who's under special education protection. And so there's a ton, like if we tried, this would be like a 15-page policy if we just copied and pasted everything from NRS, from both 4655 and 466. And so the intention of this policy was not to be comprehensive in what the NRS says, but rather just to clear up the policy we have as it pertains to defining what habitual disciplinary problem means.
And only because I have NRS open currently, Teresa's point, 392.466 also indicates limitations regarding pupils in foster care and homeless.
Yep. 466 is probably 2 to 3 times the length of 4655, which we only had about a quarter of in the policy.
Further direction or questions for our staff? All righty.
I just have kind of one more comment. I'm just looking at my notes that I took here. I think it's important that we have like a definition of what a habitual disciplinary problem student is. I just, as a parent, look at this and think, well, if a student is threatening to harm people or they've been suspended, had 5 significant suspensions, but that because they're homeless or that they're in foster care, like I understand we need to be understanding of their circumstances, but at what point, like, it's important for us to protect students while also being understanding of other student circumstances, but at the same time, like, we have to make sure we're protecting students. So I don't know, I just wonder, like, if wording needs to be better to where I just don't want to excuse any kind of behavior that would end up becoming like a danger to other students in school because of their circumstances.
So jumping in briefly, under NRS 3924655, once we've defined that, then statute kicks in to say, now that you've defined that, you will do these other things. And so I think that's that first step to say it's defined. It's not saying we're excusing it, we're just defining it. Now that you've defined it, here's these other things you must do, including a plan of behavior, including these other things. Within that, it does, and into 466, it does say there are some limitations, but I don't think it's intended to use homelessness as an excuse. It's to specifically say the definition takes into account homelessness, but doesn't exclude or, automatically include. It's neither exclusive nor inclusive. It's just another part of that definition. Once it's defined, then it, to Susan's point, goes into 15 other different policies that are covered under NRS, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I would just say like a couple of thoughts on that is you asked a couple minutes ago about, the part about if a student has an IEP or is in special education. It's essentially serving the same function as, so if a student with an IEP, just because they have an IEP, it does not mean they cannot be designated a habitual disciplinary problem. However, what has to be determined is whether or not that student's disability if that behavior that led to potentially being designated that way was a manifestation of a disability, right? And these are seeking to do the same, like it's the same type of protection for a student who's in foster care or a student who's homeless as a parent who has a student who has a disability. would want consideration for whether or not that thing that they're not really in control of directly contributed to what's going on. So that is a very, just like a hearing that would determine that for a special education student would occur, there would be deep conversations to decide, well, yes, so this is a homeless student, for example, but does them being homeless have anything to do with X incidents that occurred? Do we feel like those are directly connected to that homelessness or to that foster care? Again, it's number one, we don't really have any say in whether or not that's part of the definition. That is the definition. That's NRS. We are obligated by law to consider those things. And we are also subject to massive lawsuits if we say, well, it's not an excuse. Here's the designation, here's the consequence, because someone can say, well, this wasn't considered, and furthermore, here's a really good argument for why it is relevant. And so we just have to consider those things that, again, are elements that are out of a child's control that could negatively contribute to behavior at school.
Okay, the only reason I bring it up is because I have been contacted by a special education teacher, and it was concerning to her that a child was kept in an environment where he or she had documented like dangerous behaviors, and she felt like the student didn't need to be in this specific situation, but they were keeping him or her like in that situation. Obviously, I don't even know if it was a boy or girl, but anyways, keeping them in that environment when she felt like it was unsafe. So, because I totally get it, like there are going to be kids that have disabilities or that are their
terrible situations,
home life,
right?
yeah, their home life circumstances, you know, it's going to affect their behavior. But at the same time,
Everyone else deserves to be protected too.
Yes.
I totally hear what you're saying, Brooke.
a responsibility to everyone.
This
And
probably, oh, sorry.
sometimes I feel like kids that maybe shouldn't be in certain environments are being kept in these environments even when maybe it's not the best thing. And so we're like, that's that fine line of making sure that you're understanding of that child's circumstances, but at the same time, making sure that you're protecting all students.
Sure, and that would be necessary to determine, like, you know, maybe they don't need to be permanently expelled, right? But maybe there's a different scenario that exists for them, or maybe we can provide services that are needed. This probably doesn't like solve whatever this person's concern is that you're referring to or any similar situation, but within the same NRS that is referenced for the definition, number 2 in that NRS, talks about a process by which and it talks about teachers, specifically at schools, who if they feel like maybe an administrator isn't following through or isn't taking it seriously enough, or if there's a concern that it's not being dealt with, that there's basically a trigger process for this has to be reviewed based off of my concern, and here's my documentation for why. And then, so it's number 2 under NRS 392-4655. And it goes into how that petition basically can be put into place, and how that would escalate up to higher levels, I think, as far as it can go as far as the board, potentially. Just reading the NRS, and I'm not sure if that's present in these other policies that we're going to look at, but there are safety measures there, Brooke, in case there is a decision being made at a certain school and people feel like this child, despite their challenges, is an imminent threat or hazard to everyone around them, then people do have recourse to kind of petition for additional action or consideration.
The subsequent NRS 392-466 subsection 4 specifically says that if an employee has been the victim of battery, that they can appeal that, and it does reference specifically back to a review by the Board of Trustees. So there are, again, I've not read everything through there, but I would recommend that folks definitely read 392-466, if nothing else, because once it's defined, here's the plan of action. So that gives a little bit more leeway. Is there any,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if I can, this is a great conversation. I think that we have strayed a bit from the definition, which is
Right.
what the purpose of this policy is. I have a feeling with the substantial stack that Susan has printed out, that we are probably going to encounter a lot of these questions in that. And so we'll probably have further opportunity to discuss this more. But maybe if we, again, I'm not trying to, like, Brooke, I appreciate your questions, but I think we probably need to get back to the definition for the review.
And with that, if there's nothing further for direction back to the board, or sorry, back to the staff, back to our staff for review on this, we'll go ahead and move forward. 4.01 is the superintendent's report. Mr. Anderson.
Yep. All right, thank you. Excuse me. So just a few things. I mean, a lot. Obviously, it's been almost a month since we last met. So I'll just cover a few things since then. I want to echo the expressions and sentiments of gratitude for Bobby Shanks and the time she spent serving our district. All of our arrival, basically, except for Teresa, all of our arrival to the board and to this table occurred when Bobby had already been here for 5, 6, 7 years and had carried and worked with the district through probably what I think every school nurse would say was likely the most difficult time for school nurses ever during the pandemic. And so she was a steady presence during all that, and we really appreciate her contributions. Totally planned on presenting her with her retirement plaque here in front of everybody and making a big deal about it, but we'll have to pick another time to do that, just kind of internally as opposed to publicly. But I did want to thank her. Also want to thank we have a couple more star sponsors that have jumped on the board to help recognize our employees, and that's Orla Mining, who has contributed funds to increase kind of the donation or prizes that go to our recipients, and really impressed with Orla and what they're doing as they become a new entity in our community, and how they're just kind of diving in there and really being supportive of all lots of different aspects of our community. And then also thanks to Dos Amigos restaurant for they're pitching in some food or some gift cards for recipients as well. So that goodie bag keeps getting bigger and more full. So we're appreciative to all of them, and we were able to hand some of those out today to our newest recipients, who will get to see at future meetings. Really appreciated Battleborn's graduation ceremony. I know some of you were there, and I'll just leave it at that if you want to say more. Matt McCarty and I both had a meeting with Steve Canavero. Some of you will recognize the name. He was the interim, let's see. A while back, before Joan Ebert, he was the state superintendent. Then he was not, and then he was the interim state superintendent after Joan was appointed to Clark County. And now that we have Dr. Victor Wakefield, who's the new state superintendent, Governor Lombardo appointed Steve Canavero to be the director of the Education Service Center. The Education Service Center was one of the many things included in Senate Bill 460. And so he came to meet with Matt and I, and we had a great conversation about, what is the Education Service Center? What function will it serve? And it was really good to get his perspective on it and kind of what his vision is for what that's going to be. And I just wanted to give you, I have a lot of documents, but I'm going to read a few things real quick to help you understand what the purpose of this is, right? So the Education Service Center, and I'm going to do a compare and contrast with NDE, and not to compare one being better than the other, but how their functions are different from one another, okay? So whereas NDE's primary function is to be governance, regulation, and accountability, that's their purpose they serve in Nevada, the Education Service Center is to provide service, support, and capacity building for staff and districts. Whereas NDE is a state-level agency, the Education Service Center will be a regional or intermediate agency to kind of be the middleman between NDE, what their requirements are, and what we need to do to meet those requirements.
CJ.
Yes.
For the public, NDE.
Oh, sorry, it's the Nevada Department of Education. Yep, thank you. Whereas the Nevada Department of Education, their relationship with us is they have oversight and enforcement of how we deliver education in Nevada. The Education Service Center is meant to partner and be a resource sharing entity with us, and to, in some cases, kind of do some, have greater buying or acquisition power to bring resources by doing it in bulk, as opposed to leaving smaller districts to try to fend for themselves and get resources. Whereas the Nevada Department of Education is focused on policy and standards, the Education Service Center does specialized services for districts. Nevada Department of Education deals with funding and administering those funds and how they go to the districts. The service center would work with economies of scale, and kind of mentioned that thing just a second ago. NDE is heavily involved in monitoring with a performance framework, whereas the service center helps with delivering regionalized professional development. And they also are in no way trying to supersede anything the NNRPDP or the other professional development providers do throughout the state. It's more meant to serve in areas where maybe they don't have that expertise and they can't help school districts in the way they might need. And then in the end, the focus of NDE is very much about statewide coherence and equity through rules and policy, whereas the service center is about operational efficiency and local needs through direct services to our districts. And so really appreciated Steve Canavero coming. He drove out here. I think he's visited every district in the state at this point. He came out and spent time with us to really listen to what our needs are, what our areas of focus and interest are, and just start to wrap his head around what could the service center do to support us and our goals and what we're trying to do to comply and to make progress with state measures, as well as things that are important to us that aren't measured by the state. So it was a great conversation with Steve Canavero, and appreciated his presence and his continued leadership. He was a good presence during the interim, and excited to continue working with him. The next, just a few other things to point out. The district will soon be sending out some cell phone campaign messaging to families for the changes to policy that we've had recently. The slogan that was chosen by everyone was "Be here, be you, and be present." And the goal of the campaign is to create a culture of focus, wellness, and connection, where being fully present helps students succeed in school and in life. I know we talked about that at length before. Emily recently gave a presentation about, oh wait, did you? Did you do that yet? That's next time. I apologize. It was on the agenda. Originally, it was going to be on the agenda recently. I apologize. We are going to have a presentation about how things are going from the cell phone policy standpoint, and some data to go along with that. But excited to push some of that messaging out, and not only from the district level, but give to schools so they can utilize it in ways that they think are meaningful. And then we've had a couple other things come out of here recently to the whole community. One of those was a survey that was sent to all families and shared on social media to gauge interest in new preschool offerings across our communities. And that's going to close at the end of the week. Something I just want to point out real quick about that is, and I kind of warned against this when we had our budget discussion ago, was there's a quick knee-jerk reaction when you are having budget concerns, especially with the general fund, to say, well, how can we be spending money on blank or on that or on this other thing when we don't have, when we're worried about our fund balance. Very key to this survey was we indicated with the email, I think, that went out to accompany it, is that we are pursuing additional sources of funding, and we have opportunity to secure that. And so, but we would not want to put the time and intense effort that would go into establishing preschool classrooms across campuses and looking into finding teachers if that interest doesn't exist. So in no way does any of this mean money is going to be spent on anything, definitely. It was very much just to gauge, do we even have the interest to make this happen at different schools and in different communities, so that we can take advantage of potentially of funding that's been procured from state funds. So that's all that was. We appreciate there's been a lot of responses already, and so if you know anyone else who has preschool age children or is going to soon and might be interested in having pre-K available to them. This is something we've really hoped for since we established our strategic plan, because one of our goals was to have a more more kindergarten-ready students. That was one of our actions, and in there was working on pre-K preparations and giving people resources for their students before they arrive so that they can be more kindergarten ready. And so this would definitely help that. Again, if there's interest, if there's need, and if we can make the funding work. But obviously, given our current funding scenario, we will be very sensitive and careful about, committing to anything, depending on how far this funding goes or doesn't go. So that was what that survey was about. And then one other survey went out recently, and that was a budget priority survey, which our friend Catherine Kelly alluded to in her comments. You're still here, Catherine. You've been sitting here the whole time. Good for you. Oh, wow. Okay. That was just, she knows the rules. Catherine alluded to this survey, and we've had many survey responses from that as well. And so thank you to everyone who's participated. On that topic of budget priorities, I want to give a little bit of update on how things have progressed since our last board meeting in regards to what was discussed. It was about a week and a half after our last board meeting, we had our first budget committee meeting. And at that meeting, the primary focus at that point was to orient our committee members as in regards to kind of what the current situation is, to what data we had available at that time and we thought was relevant. They received the same presentation that you received at the board meeting, talked about the kind of the main factors in the whole equation right now, which are enrollment decline, birth rates, increased school choice exercise by people, budget deficits, things that were relevant to the conversation to make sure they understood, and then to let them know also about measures that are already being taken in order to help to mitigate that as much as we can without taking more significant measures. And then also to find out what else they would want to know for the next meeting. The next meeting occurred today. It was happening before this board meeting and concurrently with this board meeting for some of our friends who walked in middle of the meeting. And so there was a lot of other data that was asked for at that first meeting. And so our staff here put together the data they were looking for and asked for at the last meeting. And so this meeting, even though I haven't quite got to talk to them yet about how that meeting has gone, I got a little bit of an update that the main purpose of today's meeting was to now look at that new data. And additionally, we now have that survey data since the last time they met. And so they were able to analyze the survey data and kind of look in depth at the comments and really get a feel for the public feedback that was given through the survey to help inform any next conversations and steps as they work towards making recommendations. And that is what has gone on with that committee and the two meetings since we last met. In addition to the committee, which has now met twice, I should say the committee is also comprised of, kind of gave an idea of who it would be comprised of as far as categories or of stakeholders. But we have union leadership from all types of leadership. We have parents and just community members that are out and about, that are associated with school district directly, as well as district staff, as well as an elected official. And so we have a good representation of people in there without trying to have too many cooks in the kitchen. To go along with the work the committee is doing, I've been working with Kayla Church, our communication specialist, on other forms of communication that we can do with everyone to keep them well updated. We did put out that video and communication that Catherine alluded to. And then we have a budget website that is basically ready to go. We just sort of need to hit go on it once we have a couple other things ironed out, and we'll definitely have that posted and communicated out to all stakeholders before our next board meeting. It's very close. And that website is meant to be a very like Q&A format of with things as surface level as what is the funding plan, how does that work, how does the money flow from taxpayers to the state, from the state to the district, how is that money allocated? So things that are very high level like that down to eventually to, you know, what's the current, like what's happening here and why is it the way it is? And so it's meant to sort of answer questions just depending on what your level of familiarity is with different parts of the equation. And so that's just about ready to go. And then to go along with that, at this point, we have a series of at least 5 articles planned, 2 of which are pretty ready to go already. And over the next 6 weeks or so, we intend to kind of release those and kind of in order to help answer those questions. And then those would be updated with the website. The website will also have a neat little area of, it'll have a bunch of links to resources at the state level that have to do with funding. And then of note, which isn't like comforting necessarily, but it's also, I think it's important to highlight, is we have dozens and dozens of articles from the recent and not so recent past about how these things are cyclical and how they've happened in the past, not only for Nevada, but for our district. And so we'll put in some old articles for people who really want to dive into, hey, what happened in 06, 07, 08, 09, what was happening there. And you can kind of see these ebbs and flows in budgeting with, at least with our district and in Nevada. And try to also have links to articles of, again, it's not comforting or anything, but this is happening at other districts across our state too. And so people can kind of get a glimpse at that as well. All that to say, there's going to be a lot on that website. Anyone who wants to dive in will have a chance to dive in. But we will try to be very transparent and open with everything we release on that website and add to it. Just make sure you have all you can handle and hope for as far as that conversation goes. And that's it.
Thank you, CJ.
Could I just ask a question? The budget you're talking about, that information will be different than what's on the ClearGov site, or we're not using
Yes,
ClearGov?
thank you. I even thought to myself, hopefully they don't think I'm in the same place. Yeah. So this will be a website. This will be a site on our main website that is dedicated to this topic of what's going on. Totally separate from, ClearGov, for those who aren't familiar, is like a whole interface and a portal where you can dig into every little expenditure and purchase and account, and it's not even on the same, that's like this external link that you get through our website. This will be a page on our website dedicated to kind of the matter at hand.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarifying question.
Thank you, Susan. Additional comments or questions for CJ? All righty, thank you, sir. 5.01 is our NASB update.
Okay. Not too much, just if you're interested in the presentations from the conference, they're on the NASB website. They put them all on there if you want something to look at. Ms. Hillary has already sent out the January 22nd virtual workshop if you're interested on conflict resolution and de-escalation training. And there's a board president workshop coming up on February 21st that Jeff may or may not be aware of.
I plan on attending.
Yeah, since it's new to you. And that's all I have.
I actually went last year too for at Matt's request.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Susan. Since we're here at 5.02, do you want to go forward with any board members? We'll head to your right, and then we'll go to my left and continue down until we get to Mr. Bowers.
Oh,
so Susan, it is
sorry.
yours.
Sorry, I'm looking to Teresa. I would like to thank Bobby Shanks as well. Gosh, it's been more than 13 years, and I worked with her quite a bit. She'd come to the training center, so I really appreciate everything she's done over the course of many, many years. And thank you to our student member, Raymond, for your insight that you provided. I'm glad Brooke asked that question. It's always good to get your perspective, and I appreciate that. I would like to wish Adriana a happy birthday. I would also like to request, CJ, you did it at this meeting, but I would appreciate that budget update monthly, just like I do the NASB report. Doesn't have to be every time, but I think that's a good way to communicate to all of us as well, with the budget priorities, et cetera. The NASB conference was very interesting with a lot of AI presentations, and there was a great special education session as well, which I thought was very informative. And one other thing that I just thought of when you were talking about the website, and may or may not be appropriate, but I was thinking, could there be a link to our state representatives that people have it handy? So if they're one way or the other concerned about our funding, our state funding plan, they could send their comments their direction, as well as us. But I just thought that sometimes it's handy to just have the link right there for people to do.
I think that's a great idea.
So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Neal.
And I don't have a lot. Susan covered several of the things I was going to, so I will just say ditto to a lot of what Susan said, and good luck with this upcoming semester for everybody.
Thank you, Trustee Dastrup. Mr. Josh.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I will make a plug to change board docs again. I will do that for as long as I sit on this board until it's changed. So, because I absolutely abhor it. So, today was awful, trying to get everything prepped for this meeting. So, and then what else? I think that's it. Everything else everyone said, we won't repeat it. We'll move on for the sake of a 2-hour, not 45-minute meeting. Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Byers. And to your point, I know that Hillary and Charles are continuing to work through options.
So thank you. It reminded me. So I would like to ask, I'm so sorry I didn't say this during superintendent. So FERPA has been brought up multiple times for board docs. I'd like to know what the district then is doing with Copilot and Windows, which takes a screenshot every single time, and what we're doing with Google, which continues to monitor all stuff. So that's never been fully answered for me. And when I said, hey, let's move our stuff, FERPA was brought up. So I would like to know how we're using this stuff, because this is stuff I have to look at for my practice because of HIPAA. So that would just be great to know. Well, just basically Microsoft spying on everything you do. And if you don't know, Microsoft is updated and they are taking a screenshot of everything you do every 3 seconds. So, and then Copilot itself cannot be turned off unless, and my understanding is not even at an administration level. So that is something we have to look at as well.
Not quite where I was going, but thank you. But I did want to let the board know.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Was not expecting that, but okay. But no, to the board's point, as I get ready to transition to Mr. Jeff, yes, Hillary and Charles have been actively continuing to look for other opportunities to present back to the board for a better, more manageable for us documentation and board management process. So just wanted to let that out there. So thank you, Dr. Byers. Appreciate it. Mr. Jeff.
I want to start by thanking, our outgoing officers here. We've got Dr. Byers as clerk and President McCarty here. Thanks for your service in the past year. I want to thank all of you for trusting me to take this position as president. And I just want you to know I'm going to give it everything I got. There's a couple specific things I want to focus on this year. Always our budget is a big question, but along with that, with kids going, talking about attendance, I'm really glad we're doing that committee. Talking about math and reading proficiency, I really think we need to, we have those goals in place, but I want to do everything I can to bring that up. I still don't like those baseball numbers. And bullying is something that I want to make sure that we're staying on top of. So those are going to be some of the many things I'll focus on this year. I just want you all to know my door and my phone is always open if you ever need anything. So I appreciate and value all of you guys. We had such a great conference, and I really like the direction we're headed. And I just want to do my best to try and keep us on that path. So thank you for your trust there. I also want to thank Raymond for your perspective on things, and wish you good luck on being an astronaut. That's a lofty goal, literally and figuratively. And I just wish you the best of luck. But in hearing you speak and in hearing what you've accomplished already, I know the sky's the limit. I don't quit making puns there, but I mean, that's, good luck to you, man. And also thanks to Bobby Shanks and anybody else I've missed. I'll skip over real quick. I had my first meeting in leadership with NASB. We talked about sending letters to our national legislators because the president is going on to a conference February 1st. We talked about marketing and attendance so that we can get all of the directors and possibly alternates as well included in email lists and in attendance so that we can keep NASB as strong as possible. We talked a little bit about the legislative work we're going to be working on, and then just strategic planning, getting ready for the next biennium next year. So really exciting stuff. I'm happy to be in these spots and feeling like I can make a difference. So again, any input on that stuff, I'm all ears, folks. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Durham. Ms. Adriana.
Well, I don't have a lot to say either. I'm just going to say Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you I'm happy to be in STARS again. I really love it. It's exciting to see your teachers and get excited, or students, and it's just the good things about being here at the board. It's exciting. And thank you to your board member, student board member. And that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Stanfield. Ms. Brooke.
I agree. I've gotten to visit with him a little bit, and I do think the sky's the limit for him. So good luck to you in your future. And thanks for coming tonight and for your comments. Jeff, you're going to be an awesome president, and I just love your enthusiasm to serve and know that you're going to just give it all you've got. I know you'll do that and do a great job. I wanted to thank Bobby Shanks and also congratulate Skylar Basanias. I think she will be great in that position, and she's learned from Bobby and, like she said, gotten to, is going to be able to take over with a program that's running really, really well. So thank you, Bobby. I wanted to just throw out for everybody that has been asking questions about the budget and different things happening in board meetings, and all the board meetings are recorded. They're even bookmarked. So if you want to skip through sections that you're not interested in, you can go straight to the section you're interested in on those recorded board meetings and watch those. And also the recaps that CJ gives, I think are great. Let's see, where are my other notes here? That's it. Happy New Year. And I'm glad to be back on the Debt Management Commission because there's going to be one short meeting that we're going to do virtually. And then there's only one other meeting. And so with the stage of life I'm in right now and the season of life I'm in right now, I am happy to serve on that board.
Thank you, Trustee Ballard. And Raymond, I apologize. I think I misspoke. I think I said Mr. Bowers, not Mr. Bowser. So my apologies. Raymond, it's all you. So go ahead.
With that, no worries. I was actually talking to a buddy today about how people mispronounce my last name a lot, saying Bowers. I've heard Browser a lot. That's a very common one. I don't have much. I just want to say thank you to all you. This has been great. It feels like an honor to be up here. A very special thing to me to be a part of something like this. That's something I really try to strive for. That's a big reason why I started wrestling, is so I could change who I was and to see myself come this far and to be a part of a group of very special people in our community means a lot to me. And I thank you all for your nice comments. It's been really great being here. If you guys have anything else you want to ask me, anything you want my input on, just let me know. I'm really grateful to be here, and thank you all. It's been great.
Thank you very much, Member Bowser. Appreciate you. I want to echo that as well. Thank you for being here, and definitely wish you well. Thank you to Ms. Shanks as well. A couple of things to just hopefully close this out quickly. The meeting with Mr. Canavero, I want to make sure that folks know this is, from my point of view, this is not just another level of bureaucracy. I was kind of excited. Actually, I went in with some trepidation of, okay, great, what is this? But if the Education Service Center is able to do what Mr. Canavero's intent is and what it appears the legislative and administrative intent, executive intent is, then I'm excited about it. I feel that Mr. Canavero is really a great choice to head the project as it gets kicked off, and he can really set it in a great direction at its onset. I also want to thank the staff for the putting together the budget information and the data for that committee over the year-end holiday period. So thank you for getting all of that together. And then finally, I probably should have been a little bit more clear at the beginning of the action items when Brooke recommended me or nominated me. I very much have enjoyed my time as president. I thank the board for the support. I really think the staff, Hillary and Cassie before her, probably got tired of me all the time. CJ meeting with me weekly. I think he dreaded when I called, but I really appreciate that. And it's my desire to not pursue another year wasn't because of any dissatisfaction at all. We have a very talented, diverse board, and I wanted to ensure that there was appropriate growth opportunities. To my fellow trustees, I look forward to the new leadership. Again, not that we did a terrible job, but I'm glad that we've got some other opportunities coming in, and I look forward to serving in whatever capacity I can. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, and a very happy new year. And to echo Teresa, good luck to our students and staff. With that, we will close out our board matters and move into accounts payable. 6.01 is approval of accounts payable for possible action.
I move to approve accounts payable to Lone Wolf.
All righty. There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Well, I have to disclose that I work for Lone Wolf. I will be abstaining from voting.
Any further discussions and or abstentions of record? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. 6.02 is receipt of bank reconciliations. It's a non-action item.
Hold on, we have to do the
approve the
other.
other one.
I thought you said and Wolf.
No, Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf.
I
Lone Wolf.
apologize. All right. Then
So I'll
we'll
make it easy. I move to approve the other accounts payable, and I will disclose that I have a family member who is employed by Wells Rural Electric, but I will not be abstaining. Is that okay? All in
second.
one mouthful?
Perfect.
I'll second.
There's a second. Is there another abstention?
Yes, I'll disclose that I have a family member who works with Wells Rural Electric and will not be abstaining from voting.
Yeah, I had thought, wow, okay, this is great. And maybe somehow magically we didn't have any bills to Wells Rural Electric, part of the new budget program. All right, there is a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Further disclosures or discussion?
Maybe you guys can just record that. We can just
Right.
hit a button and just like, anyways, just trying to help out.
Play it. That was easy. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. Now, 6.02 is receipt of our bank reconciliations. Any questions on this one? Great. All right. We will move into our meeting closing, and we will bring up Ms. Catherine Kelly one more time for 7.01, input for public, from public. And if there's anyone else that would like the public input, you are welcome to do so. It is not only Ms. Kelly that gets to speak, but we'll certainly welcome and recognize her first. Go ahead.
Well, if I'm gonna come, I gotta talk twice, you guys. Once again, Catherine Kelly, teacher, parent, community member, all those fun things. I'm based out of Spring Creek. I just want to go ahead and just continue to say thanks for your guys' service and for your thoughtful consideration of everything. I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit because I don't know if it's ever gonna come up at a board meeting. I have had a couple of you in my classroom. Please come by. It's fabulous. 2 years ago, President McCarty got to come into my classroom for We the People, which is a civics education program. I was brave or dumb, depending on how it goes, and I nominated myself with seconds for the Dickinson Emerging Teacher of the Year Award. And so we will have a teacher, me, going to Washington, D.C. to represent the state of Nevada in April. So good stuff for us. I've never been farther than Salt Lake, so that's really exciting for me. And elementary teachers don't ever win. So there are some really cool, amazing things happening in our classrooms. And I would encourage you guys, not only for like your own personal mental health to see all the happy stuff, but also like that getting in front of like the teachers and stuff and the staff members for that accountability and that personalization. Dr. Byers has to see me every Monday and we try not to talk shop. So, Mr. Anderson, I'm so glad I set you up for all those wonderful answers that you're like, we're already doing that. That's great. I love that. I'll make sure to share it to my peoples. I just want to state, I love the new calendar. Calendar A and C were extremely similar. B was the one that's like, let's have a whole week off at Thanksgiving, but we're going to come back a whole week early. And that one was shot down rather quickly because our summer already feels so short, even though I love the idea of a week off. I also having, from a grading perspective and a parent perspective, going into the new year as a new quarter, I felt a difference in my students today. It wasn't like they had all this missing work their parents were making them do over break. They got to just come back and start fresh. And I felt like that was just really powerful of, guys, it's a new year, it's a new quarter. You all have A's, don't make me fail you. Because I do. I also want to shout out Layla. If you've not had the opportunity to speak with Nurse Layla, she is such a passionate educator. I actually got the sound system installed in my classroom over break and used it today. So I didn't have to yell over them, even though I'm just yell anyways. And so that has been really amazing. The last thing is, I just want to say thank you for the habitual disciplinary program updating in the language and stuff, because the best way to help our staff, our students, our kids, and our families is to have those steps in place. And we have to identify it first, because I've been teaching over 15 years now, and we can't help, I can't help every kid. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor. And I can love students enough to know that I'm not enough for them. And some of them need more help, and their peers shouldn't be part of their process. My kids deserve to feel safe, and my personal kids deserve to feel safe, and I deserve to feel safe. And sometimes we have to put those steps into place so that everyone gets the help that they need to be the best person that they can be. And that starts with the language. And so I appreciate that update on that conversation. And I'm still under 3 minutes. So see y'all next time I get angry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. Is there further input from the public? All right, then with that, we will adjourn. Have a great night, all.